The alarm clock doesn't just wake you up. It decides whether you rise or merely get up. There's a difference. Getting up is automatic. Rising is intentional. The first voice you hear in the morning, the first thoughts you allow into your mind, the first decision you make after opening your eyes, all of it sets the tone for the next 16 hours of your life. People underestimate mornings, thinking they're just a bridge between sleep and work. But in reality, your morning is the blueprint of your day. A rushed, distracted, negative morning leads to a chaotic, unproductive, and reactive day. But a morning built on clarity, energy, and discipline creates a day that works for you, not against you. Every morning, you are standing at a fork in the road. One path is the easy one. Grab your phone, scroll endlessly, complain about the weather, mentally dread your responsibilities, and just survive the hours ahead. The other path is the harder one. Sit with yourself, speak life into your mind, move your body, command your focus, and design your emotional state before the world tries to design it for you. Which path you take determines the quality of not just your day, but your life. Think about it. How many times have you had a terrible morning and watched it poison the rest of your hours? The coffee spills, traffic gets worse, an email frustrates you, and suddenly you feel like the universe conspired against you. But here's the truth. It wasn't the coffee or the traffic or the email. It was that you started the day without intention. You gave your morning to chance, and chance will almost always hand you chaos. Your morning sets the tone for your entire day. This isn't just a motivational saying, it's a fact backed by how your mind and body respond to the first moments you experience when you wake up. The second you open your eyes, your brain shifts from the slow, dreamy state of rest into active thinking. In this fragile transition, your mind is like soft clay. Whatever you press into it will leave an impression that lasts for hours. If your first thoughts are rushed, negative, or chaotic, that energy will ripple through your day, influencing how you react to challenges, how you interact with people, and how much control you feel over your own life. This is why mornings are not just a start. They are a launch pad. The angle you launch from determines the trajectory you'll follow. People often underestimate the power of those first minutes. They think the real day starts after breakfast or once they get to work, but your emotional state, your decision-making ability, and even your physical energy are already being programmed in the first hour. When you wake up and instantly reach for your phone, you hand that programming over to the outside world. Notifications, social media feeds, breaking news. You allow strangers, algorithms, and headlines to dictate the mood you'll carry. The tone of your day is no longer yours, it's theirs. On the other hand, when you wake up and choose thoughts and actions intentionally, whether it's focusing on gratitude, breathing deeply, stretching, or planning your top priorities, you become the author of your own day. Imagine two people waking up at the same time. One opens their eyes, sighs, and thinks, I'm so tired, I can't deal with today. They grab their phone, scroll through bad news, see a post that triggers comparison, and rush to get ready because they've lost track of time. The other wakes up, sits in silence for a moment, and says to themselves, this day is mine to shape. They drink a glass of water, move their body, and think about the 3 wins they want before the day ends. By noon, the first person is already stressed, reactive, and drained, while the second person is steady, proactive, and focused. They both face challenges, but their responses are worlds apart because their mornings set completely different tones. The morning is a powerful opportunity to decide who you will be for the rest of the day. It's your chance to align your energy, mindset, and priorities before the demands of life pull you in every direction. And once you start noticing the connection between your mornings and your overall performance, it becomes impossible to ignore. On days when you start strong, you feel more capable, more confident, and more resilient. On days when you start poorly, you spend the rest of the time trying to catch up and often never do. Winning the morning doesn't require perfection or an elaborate routine. It's about ownership. It's about being deliberate with those first choices. What you think, what you say, what you consume, and what you do. Because those choices plant seeds, and whatever you plant will grow throughout the day. A rushed morning plants anxiety. A negative morning plants pessimism. A purposeful morning plants clarity, focus, and determination. Your day is a reflection of how you begin it. And once you understand that, you realize that every single morning is not just a reset. It's a chance to completely rewrite how your day and ultimately your life will unfold. Mornings require intention, not chance. Too many people let their mornings happen to them instead of making their mornings happen for them. They wake up without a plan, letting whatever thought, distraction, or demand comes first decide how their day will unfold. This is the reason so many days feel scattered and reactive. If you don't set the direction, you'll drift wherever the wind blows. And the wind, more often than not, will push you into chaos. Intention means deciding before the moment what matters most to you and what you will give your focus to. When you open your eyes without a plan, you become vulnerable to the pull of everything that is loud and urgent. Notifications, emails, minor inconveniences, and other people's problems step in and claim your time before you've even decided how you want to use it. The day ends up feeling like a string of reactions, one after another, and you go to bed wondering where the hours went. Living like this doesn't just waste time, it drains energy and erodes confidence. You feel out of control because you've surrendered control from the start. Intention changes that. When you wake with purpose, you're telling your mind this is where we're going and this is how we're going to get there. You're no longer wandering into the day, you're leading it. It's like the difference between a ship that leaves the harbor with a map and a destination versus one that drifts without a course. The first gets somewhere meaningful, the second just floats until it's pulled somewhere random. You cannot create a powerful day if you start in a powerless way. Even 5 minutes of intention before you begin can change everything. That could be reviewing your top 3 priorities, visualizing the results you want, or setting an emotional tone you refuse to break no matter what happens. Intention also means protecting the things that matter from being swallowed by the noise. If fitness is a priority, you don't try to fit it in. You schedule it in your morning so nothing else takes its place. If self-improvement is a priority, you read, journal, or meditate before other people's demands intrude. If peace is a priority, you build moments of stillness before the day's chaos. Without intention, life will always be louder than your goals. The distractions will always win because they show up with urgency while your goals require discipline. The beauty of an intentional morning is that it doesn't have to be long, but it does have to be yours. It's not about copying someone else's perfect routine. It's about knowing what will make you feel grounded, focused, and ready, and doing that before you let the outside world in. This is why some of the most successful people in the world guard their mornings like a fortress. They know that once the gates are open, the flood of demands is unstoppable. So they start their day on their own terms. They decide how they will think, act, and feel before anyone else has a say. When you live with intention in the morning, you move through the day with clarity instead of confusion, with focus instead of distraction, and with purpose instead of passivity. It's the difference between starting the day in the driver's seat or sitting in the passenger seat, watching as someone else steers your life. And the truth is, if you're not intentional about your morning, you've already handed the keys to someone or something else. Your morning starts the night before. Most people believe their day begins when the alarm clock goes off. But in reality, the tone of the morning is already being set by the choices made in the hours before sleep. What you consume mentally, how you organize yourself, and the environment you create at night will either prepare you for a focused, energized start or guarantee that you wake up in chaos. Think of it like planting seeds. The soil you prepare before bed determines the kind of morning you grow into. If you stay up too late, eat heavy junk food, or flood your mind with overstimulating content, you're planting seeds of exhaustion, mental fog, and distraction. You can't expect a morning of clarity when you've given yourself a night of disorder. This is why preparation is such a powerful force. It removes decision-making from a time when you are least capable of making good decisions. By the time you wake up, Your willpower is still low, and your mind is vulnerable to distraction. But if you've already chosen your clothes, prepared your breakfast, decided your first task, and set up your environment, you don't have to negotiate with yourself in the moment. That negotiation is where most discipline fails. The truth is, mornings become stressful not because there's too much to do, but because too much is left undecided. You wake up and have to figure out what to wear, what to eat, what to focus on, and suddenly your first hour is a pile of small, exhausting choices. Each decision drains a little bit of mental energy before the real challenges of the day even begin. But when the night before is intentional, the morning can be spent executing instead of deciding. It's the difference between walking into a battle with your gear already in place versus scrambling to find your weapons as the enemy approaches. Even small habits at night can have a huge impact. Laying out your workout clothes can make you far more likely to exercise. Writing your top 3 priorities means you start the day knowing exactly where to place your focus. Cleaning your space before bed makes your morning feel lighter and calmer. Planning your breakfast removes the temptation to skip it or grab something that drains you later. It's not about perfection. It's about stacking the odds in your favor so that when you wake up, success feels like the default instead of the struggle. There's also a mental component to this. Going to bed with gratitude, reviewing wins from the day, or visualizing how you want tomorrow to feel plants positive emotional seeds that carry into your morning mindset. The last thing you think about at night often becomes the first thing you feel in the morning. If you go to sleep with stress and anxiety, you wake up in that same energy. If you go to sleep with clarity and calmness, you wake up ready to act with purpose. So if you want to master your mornings, you have to first master your nights. The success of your day is not decided when you open your eyes. It's decided in the quiet, often overlooked hours before you close them. When you begin to treat your evenings as the foundation of tomorrow, you stop waking up in survival mode and start waking up ready to win. Guard the first minutes of your day. Those opening moments after you wake up are the most vulnerable and the most powerful. They are like wet cement. Whatever you imprint on them will harden and stay with you throughout the day. Yet for many people, those minutes are given away carelessly to distractions, negativity, and noise. The first thing they do is grab their phone, and within seconds, they are pulled into messages, news updates, and social media feeds. Without realizing it, they have handed over control of their mindset before they've even gotten out of bed. The danger is subtle but real. Your brain in the morning is in a highly impressionable state, still transitioning from sleep to full alertness. The thoughts, emotions, and information you allow in during this time don't just visit your mind, they linger, shaping your perspective and energy for hours. If the first thing you see is an email that stresses you, that stress colors the way you approach everything else. If the first voice you hear is full of negativity, your brain will unconsciously search for more reasons to feel negative. Guarding those first minutes is about choosing what gets access to your mental space before the rest of the world barges in. It means deliberately deciding what you want to feel, think, and focus on before anything else has the chance to influence you. Instead of diving into a flood of outside input, you start by feeding yourself the kind of fuel you want to run on all day. That could be silence, prayer, affirmations, reading something uplifting, or even simply sitting in stillness and setting an intention. This is not about avoiding the world forever. It's about giving yourself a protected window of time where you can establish your mental and emotional foundation without interference. Think of it like locking your doors in the morning before you go outside, not because you're afraid of the world, but because you value your space and want to ensure it stays safe. This protected time allows you to decide, today I will lead with focus, or today I will choose gratitude, before the demands and problems of life show up. When you don't guard those moments, you allow life to start on someone else's terms. You wake up already reacting, already following, already in a defensive mindset. The rest of your day becomes about managing the consequences of that choice. But when you guard those first minutes, you start the day as the leader, not the follower. You determine your emotional baseline before anyone else has the chance to lower it. Over time, this habit changes not just your mornings, but your entire approach to life. You stop being tossed around by the moods and events of the day because you've built a stable mental state from the start. Even when challenges come, they hit a stronger, more focused version of you. The beauty of this is that it doesn't require hours. It only requires discipline. Even 10 uninterrupted minutes of intentional, positive focus can change the way your whole day feels. Those minutes are your shield, your compass, and your anchor. Give them away carelessly, and the day will take from you. Guard them fiercely, and the day will serve you. Move your body to energize your mind. The connection between physical movement and mental clarity is one of the most overlooked truths about starting the day with strength. Too often, people try to wake up their minds while leaving their bodies in a state of sluggishness. They drink coffee, check their schedules, and jump into tasks without ever giving their body the signal that it's time to be fully alive. But your energy is physical before it is mental. And when you move your body, you activate your entire system. Blood starts flowing faster, oxygen levels rise, and your brain receives a surge of nutrients that sharpen focus and improve mood. It's like turning the key in an engine. The moment you move, you ignite every part of yourself. This doesn't mean you need to spend an hour in the gym at sunrise. Even a few minutes of stretching, push-ups, yoga, or a brisk walk can transform how awake and alert you feel. The goal is not to exhaust yourself, but to activate yourself. The body is built to move, and movement sends a message to the brain. We are ready. We are prepared. We are in action mode. That message changes everything about how you approach the day ahead. Without movement, you may find yourself dragging through the morning, feeling foggy, slow, or unmotivated. You might blame the weather, the lack of sleep, or the workload when in reality, your body just hasn't been given the signal to fully engage. When you start the day with movement, your body releases endorphins, natural mood elevators that not only help you feel good, but also make it easier to handle stress. This is why people who exercise in the morning often report feeling calmer and more focused throughout the day. They've already built momentum before most people have even gotten started. Morning movement also builds discipline. It's not always easy to roll out of bed and get moving, especially when you feel tired or unmotivated, but the very act of doing it teaches your brain that action doesn't depend on mood, it depends on commitment. And when you conquer that first challenge of the day, everything else feels more manageable. There's also a mental benefit to pairing movement with intentional thought. Listening to something uplifting while you move or using that time to visualize your goals creates a powerful mind-body connection. You're not just waking up your muscles, you're aligning your mindset with action. It's a statement to yourself. I am someone who takes charge, who prepares, who shows up ready. Over time, morning movement becomes more than a physical habit. It becomes a ritual of self-respect. It's a way of saying, I value myself enough to prepare my body and mind for what's ahead. And on the days when life hits you hard, that ritual becomes a source of resilience. You'll notice that when you move first thing in the morning, you carry yourself differently. You walk with more purpose, speak with more confidence, and think with more clarity. Problems don't seem as overwhelming because you've already proven to yourself that you can take action and create energy when you need it. In a world that constantly drains you, starting the day by generating your own energy is one of the most powerful things you can do. Moving your body in the morning is not just about fitness. It's about setting the standard for the kind of day you're going to have. It's about telling your mind, we are in motion, we are alive, we are ready to win. Consistency in winning mornings transform your life. One powerful morning on its own might make you feel good for a few hours, but it won't rewrite the patterns of your life. True transformation happens when you string together day after day of intentional, disciplined starts. Over time, this repetition shapes your identity, your habits, and your results in ways you can't achieve through random bursts of motivation. The magic of consistency is that it compounds. The small, deliberate actions you take each morning, waking up with purpose, guarding your focus, moving your body, feeding your mind, might feel ordinary in the moment, but together they create extraordinary outcomes. It's like adding a single brick every day to a wall. One brick doesn't seem like much, but a year later, you've built something solid, unshakable, and impressive. The same happens with your mornings. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you reinforce the belief that you are in control. Every time you keep the promises you make to yourself in those first hours, your self-respect grows. And self-respect is the foundation of confidence, motivation, and resilience. Consistency also removes the constant struggle of decision-making. When your morning routine becomes automatic, you no longer waste energy debating whether you'll do it, you just do it. This frees up mental bandwidth for the bigger challenges of the day. You stop wondering if you'll feel like getting up early, moving, or focusing, because it's simply who you are now. You've become the kind of person who wins their morning without negotiation. This consistency shapes not only your days, but your long-term trajectory. It changes the way you show up in every area of life: work, relationships, health, and personal growth. When you repeatedly start the day on your own terms, you move through the rest of it with a sense of direction and control. People around you notice it too. They see the difference in your energy, your focus, and your presence. You become more reliable, more productive, and more inspiring. Not because you're doing anything magical, but because you've built a stable foundation that holds up under pressure. Life will still bring unexpected challenges, but the discipline of consistent mornings means you're better prepared to handle them. You don't crumble at the first sign of stress because you've trained yourself to operate from a place of strength, not reaction. And perhaps the most powerful part of all is that consistency creates momentum. The more you win your mornings, the more you want to keep winning them. The results you see, better focus, improved mood, greater progress toward your goals, become their own motivation to keep going. The habit starts feeding itself. Eventually, you look back and realize you've built not just better mornings, but a better life. The opportunities you've attracted, the relationships you've strengthened, the goals you've achieved, all of them trace back to those first intentional hours of the day. That's the hidden truth about consistency in mornings. It doesn't just change how you start your days, it changes how you live your years. One good morning can make a day better, but 100 good mornings can make your life unrecognizable in the best possible way.